Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios, this is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Friday. Means we're brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Got Jacob Beck and Casey Gaines back there on the ones and twos. Fired up that you are with us as we wind down the work week. I just had a text from a buddy in a group text. Said it's the most beautiful day of 2024. I don't really have an argument against that. It is gorgeous outside right now. We'll be cooped up in the studio for the next 2 hours, but I hope you are enjoying some of this awesome South Louisiana weather, whether you're headed out to the box for today's game between LSU and Stony Brook, or just enjoying a nice weekend or Friday afternoon in the sun. Hope that you have a great one. Appreciate you locking us in here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Preston Guy will be with us in 15 minutes talking LSU football. Stefan Krajnik at the back end of this hour at 1:30. He covers Mississippi State for the Jackson Clarion Ledger, Tigers, and Bulldogs in what should be a lively Pete Maravich Assembly Center tomorrow night at 7:30, so we'll talk a little bit about that. Well, I'll give you my thoughts on Mississippi State in hour number 2. I got some college basketball to talk about as well. Plus, LSU chosen as a sleeper team to represent the SEC in the 2024 college football playoff. We'll talk a little bit about that in hour number 2 as well. I start now with LSU baseball from yesterday because by the time we get to hour 2 today, they'll be back in action again. Tigers and Stony Brook going at it at 2 o'clock. Incidentally, if you thought potentially there could be a delay in that game because there was a morning game, you may not even be aware of that, but Northwestern State and Stony Brook did finish up their 10 a.m. game just about 45 minutes ago, so they'll be able to prep the field, and LSU and Stony Brook will be able to get rolling at 2 o'clock. The Tigers took care of Northern Illinois yesterday. 10-2 was the final. I talked about Northern Illinois yesterday leading up to the game. I don't know a lot about Northern Illinois, and I'm not going to pretend to try to learn a lot about Northern Illinois, but I can look at their box scores from the first weekend, and Abilene Christian absolutely lit their pitching staff up. So it would stand to reason that walking into that stadium against that lineup with the wind blowing out the way that it was probably not going to be a banner day for Husky pitching, and it was not. Paxton Kling hit a 2-run homer. Tommy White hit a 2-run homer. Michael Braswell hit a 2-run homer, and Josh Pearson hit 2 homers. So LSU on the back of those 5 home runs posted 10 runs on 8 hits and were able to get it done. I liked the fact that Michael Braswell got into one and sent it out of the yard. You're not going to get more than 4 or 5 of those, I don't think, this season. I'd be surprised if he hit more than that. But he got one into the breeze yesterday, and it was good to see him kind of break out after a bumpy opening weekend. Same exact thing goes for Paxton Kling. Kling's home run was on an 0-2 pitch that the Northern Illinois pitcher just hung above the belt on the inner third, and Kling hit it off the scoreboard. So that was nice to see. You figured Tommy White eventually would bust out, and he did. It was not a great opening weekend for Tommy White in terms of production. He got some hits, but in terms of creating runs, there were 3 times where he came up with the bases loaded and did not contribute an RBI in opening weekend. That's not going to last very long. He got one out over the plate in the middle innings yesterday and just hammered it over the seats in left field. And then Josh Pearson, who we know to be a trusted bat for this LSU baseball team, pulled one deep into the seats in right field early in the game and then hit it off the batter's eye in center field later on in the game. It was a great day to hit, which we don't always get in February. You're facing a lesser team, so it was good to see LSU with some power production. They're going to hit some home runs. I just don't know quite how many. I don't know exactly what to expect from this team as far as power goes, because I knew Gavin Dugas had 16, 17 homers in him. By the time you got to the end, you knew Cade Beloso was a proven power bat. Cruz was destined to hit 15 to 20 home runs. He hit right between 15 and 20 home runs last year. That was bound to happen. So you lost a lot of thump from last year with Dugas and Cruz and Beloso. You knew White would hit home runs, and we think Travinsky's going to hit some home runs. Right now, Jared Jones isn't exactly answering all my questions because I know he can take this crappy February pitching and bash it over the wall. We'll see when we get to SEC play, or even with Texas next week, if Jarrett Jones is ready to take on some better arms and provide the power that we know he's got inside that bat. But that power is a little bit unproven, and it's part of the, and I would not say concern, I would say question about this LSU offense. So it was nice to see some guys who I don't know what their power production is going to be get on the board. Is Josh Pearson ready in a full season? Because he didn't start until halfway through his freshman year, and he didn't play the beginning half of last year. But if Josh Pearson plays 51 games out of 56, can he hit 15 home runs? I don't know. I would like to see that. So, and as far as Braswell goes, I don't think that you can expect a ton out of that, and you know what you're going to get from White. But Kling and Pearson, interesting, and hopefully those guys can get on a little bit of a heater. So that was some of the offensive stuff. Kling was 1 for 2 with that big hit, but he also drew 2 walks on top of the lineup, which I really liked. And then Pearson, monster day with the 2 home runs, 3 runs scored, 3 driven in, and he drew a walk. So really nice effort from those 2 guys offensively. As far as the pitching went yesterday, Gage Jump, there was some good and some bad. The bad was obviously allowing the walk in that first inning, the wild pitch that scored a run. I would love it if his catcher would go down and make a play there and keep that out, and Milazzo will more often than not, did in that time. So there was a little bit of control issue for Jump, but the good thing about what he did yesterday was the stuff still plays. It was awesome in that 1 inning of work last Friday where he goes out there and strikes out 2 in a single inning, and then in 2 1/3, so you're talking about 7 outs, he struck out 4 yesterday. That, to me, shows that the stuff is really good. It's tough on hitters. There's life on the fastball. Both those breaking balls are tough to deal with. I like the strikeout numbers for Jump. And if you heard Jay Johnson after the game yesterday, he was talking about his southpaw, said, I was amped up to watch him pitch. I think he was amped up. It wasn't the sharpest, but I will take that outing, and we're building him up for next weekend. Of course, next weekend is a little bit more of a showcase. I don't know what Louisiana Lafayette has. And I don't know what Texas State has. I know Texas is very talented, and I don't think he's going to start the game against Texas. But maybe they start him in a game next week in Houston. I would think that Hurd and Holman would get a starting nod, but maybe you look at Jump as a guy who may get one of those outings. And they're stretching him out because yesterday he threw 52 pitches, and then I wasn't at the game, so I didn't know this, but I listened to the press conference after and found out after Gage Jump threw the 52 pitches, they sent him down to the bullpen to continue to work. So you would figure maybe 15 more pitches, 20 more pitches. You're looking at about a 70-pitch Thursday for Gage Jump, which is exceedingly good news after the slow ramp-up preseason. We've made enough of a deal about that at this point. I think we can put that in the rearview mirror. Now you're looking at a guy who got out there in a high-leverage spot in weekend number 1, so that tells me he's one of their most trusted guys. And 2, was stretched out to 70 or so pitches yesterday when you put him what he did in the game and then went down to the bullpen to continue working. So it appears that everything's full speed ahead for Gage Jump, and we'll see him at some point in Houston next weekend, which is exciting. Nate Ackenhausen was missing a lot of bats in the game. He did give up the 1 home run that was wind's blowing pretty hard out there, and he does give up the 1 home run, but he struck out 6 in 3 2/3. So you're talking about 11 outs. He gets 6 punch outs, most of them on the breaking ball, which looked very good yesterday. We know Ack at this point. We know what he's going to be, and it was good to see him get out there. The other 2 guys are unproven back-end pieces of this LSU pitching staff that can only add depth. I don't expect that Aiden Moffitt nor Micah Buckham becomes a true stopper on this team or the closer or the highest leverage arm. I don't expect that. It's sure possible. 56 games, anything can happen on your roster. I don't expect that, but they certainly can add depth. And we saw last year how much a pitching staff is tested should you fall into a loser's bracket, whether that be in the regional or in Omaha. And unless you fell into the loser's bracket in Omaha, and all of a sudden you needed Nate Ackenhausen and Griffin Herring and Gavin Guidry to eat up some innings that you hadn't seen all year. You needed Javen Coleman to start a game. He wasn't one of your most trusted guys. You gave him the ball in a game in Omaha that you had to win. So the more guys you can get up to speed, the better. And I thought that the potential was oozing from Aiden Moffitt and Micah Buckham yesterday. Aiden Moffitt had a couple strikeouts in his 1 inning. Did have the walk, and command is what you need to see from him, but the walk was on a pitch that was pretty close. So he's not that far off, and he's 95, 96 when he lets it go. So that's an encouraging thing to see Aiden Moffitt, who only had 1 appearance last year. They sent him off to the Northwoods League in the summer. They liked what they saw in terms of his development. He's a super talent, but they've got to get him polished. In year 2, you think maybe a breakout could come. I liked what I saw from him. And then Micah Bucknam, 4 punch-outs for him in 2 innings. That stuff looked good. I mean, if you watch the highlights or you watch the game, the last strikeout was a tight slider that he landed in the strike zone to finish off the game. I've known that he's 92, 93, 94 with the heater more often than not. The breaking ball that he put with it was encouraging. So, again, they go in there in a 10-2 game for a reason. They're not your highest leverage arms. But stuff is stuff, and those 2 guys are immensely talented. They're down the line. They're not Ackenhausen. They're not Guidry. Right now, they don't have that on their plate. They're not where Griffin Herring is at this point. They're not where Justin Lohr is with the staff's confidence right now. But they're really talented, and the more guys you can get up to speed, the better as you get into postseason. It generally is not going to matter too much in a weekend series against Tennessee. Like, you're going to have your main guys, and they're going to go out there and throw. But if you get into a regional situation and you got to play more games, you get into an Omaha situation, you got to play more games, dudes are going to have to pitch. And so see how far they can come along as we move forward here. Nice win for LSU. Not perfect, a lot of pop-ups, but you scored 10 runs. I'm not going to complain too much about it. Bashed 5 balls out of the yard and beat Northern Illinois 10-2. LSU and Stony Brook will get things rolling here 50 minutes from right now. I'll preview that one at the end of the hour. Probably brings back some shuddering memories for a lot of people, but it's a different I can tell it's a different LSU Stony Brook game because of the weather outside. The weather is beautiful today. I think there's probably a good amount of you that don't remember the weather the Stony Brook weekend, just that we lost and they got a victory lap. It was the worst weather weekend I've ever seen for a regional or super regional. I hadn't been to them all, but it rained and it rained and it rained and it rained. So it's a different time. LSU will be fine against Stony Brook coming up here in 45 minutes. We'll talk about it later on in the hour. Our Friday shows brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. I stopped in Corks today, grabbed some lunch. My mom and wife are in town. They're getting some things shuttled from one house to the next. And so I got them some fish and shrimp and some french fries. I ate some of my own as well. Shout out to Paul and Michael who are over there. It's a Lenten Friday. No better spot to get your Friday lunch than Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. They've got you covered with your fried catfish, your fried Gulf shrimp, which is fantastic. You can get that in po' boy form if you'd like that. They've got 3 different loaded potatoes that they're working with over there as well. Get on by and ask about those potatoes that are now full-time on the menu. It's not just fish and shrimp. They got etouffee. They've got your baked potatoes, and they can top it with all these special stuff as well. Fantastic work over there with the folks at Corks, bringing you our Friday shows each and every week. We'll take a time out. When we come back, Preston Guy talking some LSU football, specifically what does a running back position look like right now. We'll do that next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years, redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. You know by now. It's a free consultation. Free, free 99. Get David Duvall and his team to come over there, get that questionnaire filled out. He can show you what they can do for you, whether it's using your existing space more functionally, more efficiently, or it's a full-scale renovation and remodel. They're a licensed contractor. They'll be the only call that you make. Check out the pictures of their great work, testimonials from satisfied clients. It's all there on the website. It's OneBathAndClosets.com. David Duvall and One Bath and Closets. The website is OneBathAndClosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has new 23 Ford F-150 STX trucks for only $39,995. $39,995 plus 1.9% financing for 72 months. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
It was a humid day. Barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net. Moscona inviting you to join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. We'll get you live updates from the box, preview LSU, Mississippi State hoops, and a busy back-to-back for the Pels. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Rolling right along here on a gorgeous Friday in the capital city. Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Set out to the Jim's Fire and Sightlines, where we find Preston Guy from TigerBait.com talking Tiger football every Friday. Preston, how are you?
Hey, Hunt, how's it going?
Going well. I'm not going to ask you to be an attorney, so we'll leave the impending investigation and whatever is to happen up in Union Parish that involves Trey Holly. But let's just talk football here on a Friday.
Yeah.
Theoretically, if Trey Holly is not a part of this team in 2024, what does that running back room look like right now?
Well, you've got Josh Williams, who's your just tried and true guy who will be there. I think his NIL deal runs through 2035.
Good, perfect.
He's never going away.
Have Mickey Loomis convert that into a signing bonus and go ahead and push it on farther down the road.
Well, look, Mickey Loomis has an extra $30 million to work with unexpectedly now, so at least there's some positives there. Maybe some of that goes to Josh Williams as well. And then behind him, you've got Caleb Jackson, who you all know. I mean, all LSU fans are really high on him and excited to see him get more carries. So, in a way, it's good that you've cleared up some bodies. I just don't know that Trey Holly was the body you wanted to clear up to get him the ball, because Trey Holly is another guy people are very excited about, very talented. I mean, LHSAA all-time leading rusher. I mean, very talented young man. Well, the good news is in fall, you're going to bring in a running back who I think is one of the most underrated parts of this class for 2024 is Caden Durham, who is an absolute beast. We all know what that Duncanville High School offense is like over there, and he was a major part of it. You've got three guys you do feel good about. Spring ball is going to look really thin. It's going to be a lot of Caleb Jackson and Josh Williams as your only two scholarship backs. One consistent trend I've noticed, Brian Kelly's offensive system, he always uses four running backs. He likes to keep guys fresh and likes to rotate it and use guys situationally. For 10-plus years, he's had four running backs with 40 or more carries. That is not by accident. That is by design. So I think you need a minimum of four running backs, if not more, because really at four, if one or two guys get hurt, you're really thin. You're spread very thin. So I think they're going to have to go to the portal. I don't think they have to get a 1,000-yard rusher proven commodity out of the portal because you do have guys you like, and there is, I guess, a small potential possibility that, Trey Holly's attorney did put out a statement, defending his innocence. So there is a chance he could be back. But I do think you need to add one guy just to add a body in case things go wrong. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm curious as your thoughts as to why Caleb Jackson didn't touch the ball more often this past year.
I think Brian Kelly doesn't like to trust freshmen in key situations. I think he likes to rely on veteran players, and that's how he wants to build his program, is by putting veteran players on a pedestal. We saw after a game where Jaden Daniels had 8 touchdowns, Brian Kelly came out and said, after seeing a performance like that tonight, I just really, my mind goes to Noah Kane. Who had 8 carries for 34 yards, something like that. But he wanted to highlight that Noah Kane was a fifth-year guy who came back, and these things are very important to him. But the other thing is LSU had 8 running backs last year. No one got a very big piece of the pie, not even Logan Diggs, who was consistently your number one back. So, that's just the nature of the beast when you've got so many players. That's not going to be the case next year. It's going to be a heavy dose of Caleb Jackson.
No doubt about that. How much do you expect Caden Durham to factor in, knowing what we know right now? We don't know who they could potentially add in the next 2 months.
Yeah. At worst, he's your third back right now. So, if you roll into fall with the backfield that you've got right now, at worst, he'll get 50 carries. And I think another factor in there is Josh Williams isn't really much of like an every down back kind of guy. He's really a guy who's very good situationally. There were some situations I got upset with LSU for using him. For one, I don't think he's a great goal line back, and they did use him on 4th and 1 or goal line situations. You would hope to see more Caleb Jackson in that situation or Caden Durham. So because Josh Williams is more of a blocking, pass-catching type back, that opens up even more carries for guys like Caden Durham and Caleb Jackson.
ReliaQuest Bowl, I was looking at what was likely to come back on the offensive line, the production you were losing at receiver, breaking in a new quarterback, and then as much talent as you had at running back. And I was going, they're going to be far more run heavy this coming season. Then I watched Garrett Nussmeier throw it around in the ReliaQuest Bowl, and I'm going, maybe not. What's your thought on that? Do you think that obviously they're not going to run the quarterback as much as they did with Jaden Daniels, but do you think the philosophy changes a little bit?
Well, they're going to have less rushing yards.
Yeah.
But they're going to have more running back runs, right? They have to, because Jaden Daniels just provided so much running offense just by being who Jaden Daniels is. So, you're going to have to line up, and under center and hand it off and establish a more traditional running attack, because you don't have that dynamic weapon at quarterback. But that being said, I think they'll end up with a lot of passing yards because Nussmeier is going to go out there and sling it. He threw for 400 in the bowl game. I don't think that'll be the first time we see him approaching 400 yards passing for LSU. I think it's going to be a lot of passing, but the running backs are going to play a bigger role this year than they did last year. In fact, the running backs really hadn't played as big of a role the last 2 years simply because Jaden Daniels was your best runner on the team, and he's no longer here. So Garrett Nussmeier, if he's your best runner, you're going to have a rough year. So you're going to have to find someone else.
So when I think back, and I don't have the stats in front of me, but I think back to the Florida State game where I know the LSU running backs did almost nothing, and I don't really feel like the running backs did very much in Tuscaloosa either. Does LSU need to get better on the offensive line at run blocking to get these running backs going?
I don't think that's as big a factor as the running backs themselves, and of course Jaden Daniels taking precedent in the running game.
Yeah.
I think that this LSU offensive line is going to be one of the better offensive lines we've ever seen for LSU. So maybe there's some argument about the interior guys. Of course, the interior offensive line did not have a good game against Florida State, but the rest of the year they were pretty good. I expect them to be greatly improved with 4 out of 5 starters. Of course, the big question is how good can DJ Chester be at center or does another guy kind of step in and fill that role? Do they possibly hit the portal for a center? My gut tells me there's a reason Marlon Martinez hit the portal and went to Mississippi State. You don't see very many guys who were going to start for LSU decide, I want to go to Starkville and listen to some cowbell. So I think there was some writing on the wall there, and they like what they're getting out of DJ Chester.
Kind of sticking with this entire theme of kind of the ground game and short passing. Tight end. When Brian Kelly took over, they didn't have any tight ends. Had to send Mason Taylor out there as a freshman and just kind of figure it out. What do you think about that position now as you move into year 3 with Brian Kelly?
Yeah, it is stacked. I mean, you've got Mason Taylor, who the receivers were so darn good last year, you could barely use him. So he's going to be your first tight end. There's no doubt about that. But then you've got a lot of talented tight ends coming in this program, man. I mean, think about Mac Markway, who barely got to see the field last year. Kamorian Pimpton. And then you're bringing in Tradez Green from Zachary, who is a 5-star player. I think he'll be too good to not see the field this year. So I think that tight end room looks really good, and I anticipate tight ends being a bigger part of the offense because there's just no way the receivers are as good as they were a year ago. I mean, I think they'll be fine, but there's no way you see another Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors, right?
No, I don't think so. And those guys are about to head to Indy and see what they can do. And where do you think your gut says that those two guys are picked around Malik and Brian Thomas?
Malik, I could see him top 8. I see New York a lot.
Yeah, so do I.
Talking about him, but I also see New York talking about picking Jaden Daniels. So apparently a lot of draft people really like what's going on in Baton Rouge in New York. But I think Brian Thomas is a guy who probably falls, in that, teen range to maybe 20s. I'll tell you what, if he's there at the back end of the first round, that is the steal of the draft. That would be incredible for a team to pick him up, especially think about like the Kansas City Chiefs getting their hand on Brian Thomas. You get a bona fide deep ball threat, big body, wide range receiver for a team who had just drop issues all year long. That would be terrifying to see the Chiefs get him. But I have a feeling he'll be off the board by 20. And I think this is a stacked year for receivers. I mean, loaded. So any team getting, I think there's a lot of years Brian Thomas very well could be a top 10 pick. It's just this year, Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors. There's just a lot of very talented receivers.
Rome Odunze comes to mind as well. A lot of guys are going to be coming off the board there in the first round of the draft. Preston, we appreciate some time. Have a great weekend, man.
All right, you too, Hunt. See you soon.
Preston Guy, TigerBait.com. He and Mike Scarborough do a great job over there at TigerBait. Got a great YouTube channel as well, so check them out. Preston's with us every Friday talking LSU football, no matter what time of year it is. We love to talk a little football with our guy, Preston Guy from TigerBait.com. All right, LSU basketball in the PMAC tomorrow night, 7:30 against Mississippi State. Stefan Krajnik covers the Bulldogs. He'll join us next.
The Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
IU Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $17,500 off new 23 1500 Bighorn trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $17,500 off new Ram 1500 trucks. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
With locations in Baton Rouge and Lafayette, Ruffino's is a steak, seafood, and Italian-inspired restaurant that focuses on the celebration of life, regardless of the occasion. Whether it's the food they serve or the service they provide, their goal is to ensure remarkable experiences for their guests that's always remembered. To see the menu, visit Rufino'sRestaurant.com. Ruffino's, where Louisiana comes to celebrate life.
You've heard about it, we've got it. Semaglutide, RejuveMeMedical.com.
College football talk all year long on the Chuck Oliver Show, weeknights at 6 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Up on Friday's OTB, we recap a ton of Thursday night sports. Pelicans, LSU baseball, LSU softball, LSU women's basketball. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Rolling along, hour 1 of the Hunt Palmer Show. LSU and Mississippi State, 7:30 tomorrow night inside the Maravich Center. LSU coming off a huge buzzer-beating win over the Kentucky Wildcats. Mississippi State got a nice win against their in-state rival, the Ole Miss Rebels, earlier this week as well. Stefan Krajnik covers Mississippi State for the Jackson Clarion Ledger. He joins us here on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Stefan, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. How you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. It's our pleasure. We appreciate it. Year 2 under Chris Jans. Made the tournament last year, which was, in my opinion, an unexpected development. And this year have put themselves in position to do the same thing, but they're going to have to close pretty well against a tough stretch down the stretch. Do you think right now Mississippi State is an NCAA tournament team?
Yeah, I think as of today, they got the resume for it right. I think Coach Jans did a good job of, putting together the non-conference schedule and got them some good wins. You look at the games against Northwestern and Rutgers, a couple good neutral core wins. And they also had a neutral core win against Washington State, which if you watched, some Pac-12 action last night, turned out to be a really good win because Washington State might have a chance to win the Pac-12 this year. So they did a good job in the non-con, putting themselves in a spot where even though they had a tough, 3-6 start to SEC play this season, they've still been, a top 40 net ranking team throughout most of the season. So they're in a spot right now where, they're probably a few seeds away from being a bubble team, right? You're looking at a team that's like probably a 9 or a 10 right now as opposed to an 11. But like you said, it's a tough stretch coming up. You got the road game against LSU, and then 3 more to close it out. It's certainly not easy, and you got to find a way to win a couple games. And I think that's why you point to this one. You say, that's an LSU team that just beat Kentucky. But when you look at relative to some of the rest of the competition, it's about as good a chance you're going to get for, to get another SEC win. So it's certainly a big game in Baton Rouge, no doubt, for the Bulldogs.
When I think Chris Jan's team, I think slow pace, I think defense, I think rebounding, size. But I look at the last 4 games, 75 points against Georgia, 75 more at Missouri, 71 against Arkansas, 83 against Ole Miss. Have they found another gear here offensively?
Yeah, and I think part of it, too, has been the defense has improved. The defense was not playing to the Chris Jan's level early in SEC play, and I think they've turned that up, and they've been, become a better defensive rebounding team. And I think all of that, when you're getting stops and you're forcing turnovers, is helping the offense a bit, right? They do like to play at a slower pace. They like to, make games ugly, but their offense is at its best when it's moving, at a bit of a tempo. And I think another thing is, last year you mentioned, that team making the NCAA tournament, which surprised a lot of people, especially, when you look at the numbers, and they were, among the worst free throw shooting teams in the country, and they still are. But they were the worst 3-point shooting team in the country last year. And you turn around this year, and they're not a great 3-point shooting team. They're still a bit below average, but they're not the worst in the country. And I think because of that, you're looking at this team and saying, you knew if they just made a few strides offensively, that they were going to end up being a better team because you knew the defense would be there. And I think now you're seeing it, right? The offense is starting to click a bit at the right time of the year, and the defense is doing its thing, and it's resulting in a 4-game winning streak in the heart of SEC play.
We'll get to the front court, which is imposing, but I do want to go to the back court when you start talking about threes there. Shaquille Moore hasn't missed a 3 since February 7th. Not that he shoots a ton, but he's 6 for his last 6. And Josh Hubbard, the freshman, has been pretty good for him, scoring 15 a game in SEC play. Tell me about those 2 guys in the state backcourt.
Yeah, they've been outstanding for them during this winning streak in particular. Moore's a guy that has been at state, has experienced. He's so good defensively that you knew that he was going to be the guy that Jans would keep on the court no matter what, because of how much he values defense. Now, when you get a little bit of an offensive boost, with Tolu Smith, who I'm sure we'll talk about, and Josh Hubbard, they're giving you 15, 16 points a game. You just needed a third guy to step up and give you, 9, 10, 11 at a consistent rate, and that's what Shaq Moore has kind of given them the last few games. And then Hubbard's a star, man. He's got a chance to be SEC Freshman of the Year. He's the Mississippi Boys High School all-time leading scorer. He signed with Ole Miss. He was going to go to Ole Miss, and they fired Kermit Davis, and he ends up making the switch and coming to Mississippi State to play for Jans. And those 2 guys together have found kind of a chemistry, and they're playing well. And they've gotten a good boost off the bench too from Deshaun Davis. He's a guy that last year started every game for State, and he comes in this year and he had some struggles early in SEC play, so much so that they kind of had to make a move and put Hubbard into the starting lineup over him. But he's kind of found a groove ever since that game at Ole Miss a couple weeks ago. So they've gotten some production from their guards that they desperately needed coming into this year.
Stefan Krajnik covers Mississippi State for the Jackson Clarion Ledger. State into the PMAC tomorrow night for a 7:30 tip-off here in Baton Rouge. You mentioned Tolu Smith, been there for a long, long time at State and still playing at a very high level. Tell us about the Mississippi State big.
Yeah, Tolu's the guy for State. Everything runs through him, right? If he gets going inside, it opens up 3-pointers. If 3-pointers start to fall, it opens things back up inside for him. They like to go to him. They like to use him as their star weapon. He missed all but one non-conference game, coming back from an injury in the offseason. And he's a guy whose career has, been riddled by injury a bit. And it's impressive when you look at the numbers and say, well, when he's healthy, he's among the best players in the SEC and was a preseason, all SEC guy and a preseason SEC player of the year, by multiple publications, right? He's got that potential when he's healthy. And I think, he's had some games that have been tough, haven't been kind of to his level of play. Some of that you got to remember, that's a guy who's only playing, in his 13th game of the year, right? 14th game of the year. He's still kind of, finding his footing after that injury, and he's starting to find a groove the last few games. He played awesome in that game against Ole Miss, took advantage of their lack of interior presence, and he's the guy where, if you're playing against State, you're double teaming him and you're trying to slow him down because it's the key to everything that they do offensively.
Most teams in the SEC have a very poor road record. Just not a league where, especially the middle of the league, which is where I think State's at the top of the middle of the league. LSU's probably at the bottom of the middle of the league. You exclude your Alabamas and Tennessees, and then you exclude your Missouris and Vanderbilts. Most teams not doing great on the road, but State's 1-6 on the road, and the only win was at Missouri. Anything you can point to on the road that's been a little bit more of a struggle than at the hump?
Yeah, their defensive play has not been to kind of their level of expectation on the road, and I don't know if some of that is, teams at home get some shots to fall and start feeling good or what it is, but then they turn it over a ton too when they play on the road, and that, kind of helps teams kind of get their offense going, right? So if they can play clean, I think it helps them a ton on the road. I think they did a good job of that in that win, against Missouri. And I know it was against Missouri, but when you're State, you finally get that road win, you don't really care who it's against, right? I think they did a good job of playing clean though in that game against Missouri. I think that helped out their defense because Missouri wasn't able to get out and get fast break and transition points and things of that nature. So if they can play clean against LSU, I think they have a chance. But like you said, I mean, they've only got one true road win, and they got to prove that. That's something that's going to loom on a resume if it comes down to it, and you're on the bubble, and you're saying, hey, this team on the bubble has a couple road wins, and this one, only had a road win against Missouri. That could end up hurting you.
For sure. Matt McMahon has talked a lot about his team's defensive rebounding. It's something he's emphasized in press conferences, so I know he emphasizes it in practice. Is there something that Chris Jans points to as a key to his team getting wins night in and night out?
Yeah, it's rebounding, like you mentioned there. It's the same thing. I mean, you look at, they had like 20 offensive rebounds in that win against Ole Miss, and I know Ole Miss is among the worst rebounding teams in the SEC, but that's what they like to do, right? Tolu's crashing the boards. Cam Matthews is developed into a real weapon for State on both ends of the floor, and he's on the on the rebounding side. They have Jimmy Bell off the bench, who started for West Virginia, a tournament team, every game last season, and was one of the better rebounders in the Big 12. There, he comes over and now he's the backup to Tolu Smith at State. So there's definitely an emphasis on rebounding, especially offensive rebounding. When you're a team like State that doesn't shoot the ball great, right? Like they don't have amazing three-point shooting. It's improved, but it's not amazing, right? You got to be able to get some offensive boards and get yourself some second chances, and I think they've done a good job of getting their players to buy into that. I mean, you have guys like DJ Jeffries, Cam Matthews, who aren't those prototypical centers who are in there getting offensive boards for you. It's been pretty impressive to see, especially on the glass, how Chris Jans has gotten this team to buy in, especially in February.
LSU headed to Starkville to Dudy Noble, Jay Johnson's Tigers, to open SEC play in a couple of weeks. We'll talk then, Stefan. Thanks, man.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
He is Stefan Krajnik, covers Mississippi State for the Jackson Clarion Ledger, and we always appreciate a little bit of his time talking about the Dogs. This is a really big opportunity, I think, for both teams. State is in desperate need of a road win to solidify their tournament. They're right there on the good side of the bubble at this point, but that could change over the next 7, 8, 10 days because of how difficult their schedule gets at the end. This is an opportunity for them to get one. LSU is not exactly Alabama. LSU is not exactly Tennessee. But on the flip side of that, LSU has an opportunity to continue this little momentum that they have. They got that win at South Carolina. You beat Kentucky at the buzzer. You're going to have a really good crowd on Saturday. You could capture a little bit of momentum here late in the season if you can get this win. So I think a big game for both of these teams, and I'm excited to check it out tomorrow at 7:30. So we appreciate Stefan for coming in and hanging out with us. LSU and Stony Brook from the box coming up in 18 minutes. Thatcher Hurd will get the baseball. I'll tell you what I'm looking for out of the box this afternoon. You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions. My guy Mitchell Fisher will be at my house at 9 o'clock on Monday. Why? He's going to take all the televisions that are mounted in my current home. All his team's going to go in there, take them down, and they're going to drive them right to the new house and put them all up there. And he's also going to do some help with us on the audio side of things. If you're looking for something in the audio world, whether it's wiring your house for sound, making sure you've got voice automation in your home so that you can say, hey, I want to watch a movie, and the blinds come down and the TV comes on and the lights dim, he can handle that as well. If you've got your home entertainment situation needs some improvement on the video side, he can help you with that, and they also do security over there at Audio Video Security Solutions. I invite you to check out their Instagram. It's AVSS_BR, AVSS_BR. You can see some of the awesome work that they do at Audio Video Security Solutions. This is Mitchell Fisher's phone number. You get the owner of the company, you call this number, 225-439-7920. It's in the 225 area code, 439-7920. It's our friends at Audio Video Security Solutions.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $17,500 off new 23 1500 Bighorn trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $17,500 off new Ram 1500 trucks. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Happy New Year from your friends at Front to Back Boat Service. And what better way to kick off your new year than by taking your boat to the next level? Get the boat of your dreams, and that's where Front to Back comes into play. You want that spot lock trolling motor that's going to keep you right there on the water where you need to be. How about some forward-facing sonar that actually shows you the fish before you even cast? Custom stereo jobs, all of it. Sherman family's been doing it for 38 years. Go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. We'll get you live updates from the box, preview LSU, Mississippi State hoops, and a busy back-to-back for the Pels. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a
Signing up is as simple as heading to 1045ESPN.com. It's our annual holiday rebate gift to you from Citizens Bank and Trust and 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
The Seawolves of Stony Brook, 2012 Baton Rouge Super Regional champs, are here again. Not to bring up any bad memories. I was in the press box. It wasn't that much fun. Game 1 between LSU and Stony Brook is the most dramatic baseball game I've ever witnessed. My favorite game ever was the Aaron Nola, Jonathan Gray 2013 Super. But the 2012 Super, Game 1, where LSU 3 times, the 9th, 10th, and 11th innings, hit game-tying home runs with 2 outs in the 9th inning, is unlike anything I've ever seen. Tyler Moore hit one. Jacoby Jones hit one. I think Mason Katz hit the other one. I think that's right. I know Katz had the walk-off single to win it. I know Tyler Moore and Jacoby Jones both hit homers, and I think Katz hit the other one. But they tied it 3 different times. The rains kept coming, pulled the teams off the field, and we had to come back the next morning. That's when Gosman warmed up, and he came in to close Game 1, and then the Cats got the walk-off hit, and they brought Gosman back to start Game 2, and the rain came again, and he couldn't throw a curveball. I don't want to talk about it. It was terrible. But Stony Brook's back in town, and it should be a little bit more fun this afternoon than it was that weekend. It's a gorgeous day out at the box, and lineup is posted for LSU, obviously, as they'll play here in 11 minutes. So I'll get that to you here. Stephen Milam in the lineup today. He'll lead off and play second base. It'll be Tommy White hitting second at third. Hayden Travinski's the DH. He'll be in the 3-hole. Brady Neal's going to catch and clean up. It'll be Jared Jones in the 5-hole. He is playing first base. Josh Pearson is right field. He will hit fifth. Mac Bingham's in left hitting sixth. It'll be hitting seventh, I should say. Michael Braswell's the shortstop hitting eighth. And Paxton Kling will play center field and hit ninth. So it's become evident Jake Brown's not in the lineup today. There's a rotation now. You know for sure that Jared Jones is going to play first, that Michael Braswell is going to play short, that Tommy White is going to play third, and that Hayden Travinski is going to play. Those are non-negotiables to this point through a weekend and a half. Kling gets a day off every 5 days. Milam gets a day off every 5 games. Brown gets a day off every 5 games. Bingham gets a day off every 5 games. And Pearson will get a day off every 5 games. It's kind of what it looks like. And so you're getting a rotation at second base and the 3 outfield spots, depending on who is in there. And I think that's going to continue for a little bit until somebody catches fire. And then you may play some matchups. You've got some left-handed bats there and some right-handed bats there. You've obviously got Pearson, who swings it left-handed. Milam's a switch hitter. Jake Brown is left-handed. The rest of the guys are right-handed. And you've always got the ability to put Brady Neal in at catcher, when you've got the Milazzo, Neal, and Travinski rotation, and he's the left-handed bat there. So in this lineup, against a right-handed pitcher, you've got Milam in there who will hit left-handed, Neal in there who will hit left-handed, Pearson in there who will hit left-handed. So 3 of your guys swinging it from the left side today. That's kind of what it looks like offensively. Stony Brook got hit really hard by Purdue over the weekend in Sugar Land, Texas, and Stony Brook lost against Northwestern State earlier today. They played at 10 o'clock this morning over the box. I drove by the box twice this morning and had no idea a baseball game was going on as I was driving by. It wasn't exactly a capacity crowd for Northwestern State and Stony Brook. There will be, I believe, a really nice crowd out there for a 2 o'clock Friday first pitch between LSU and Stony Brook. Thatcher Hurd will get the baseball. That is, truth be told, the biggest story in this game. Thatcher Hurd was not as bad as his line suggests on Friday. You know the story by now. He gives up 1 base runner in the first inning, but Milazzo threw him out, so you faced the minimum there. He got him 3 up, 3 down in the second inning with the strikeout, and then he got the first 2 outs in the third inning. So you faced 8 guys, and you've gotten 8 outs. And then you walk a guy, and then you balk, and then the 4 straight singles, then the pitch counts up, and you got to go to the bullpen to Justin Lohr. So the line looks terrible. You gave up the 4 base runners. You gave up the 3 runs. It doesn't look good for your Friday night guy. It wasn't quite as bad as that would have it appear. He's got to be better today, though. He needs to pitch 4 innings today at a minimum. And he needs to go through them with 5 or 6 strikeouts and churn through these guys. If he struggles with some command or with getting too much plate and giving up solid singles, that will be a little bit disconcerting at this point. It's a long season. He's pitched a total of 8 outs, okay? So I'm not here to sound any alarms, but it'd just be good if he would settle in and throw it really well, because it feels like he's set up to pitch against Texas on Friday next week. Now, maybe Gage Jump pitches that game. He threw on Thursday. Maybe he pitches next Friday, and Hurd pitches against Louisiana Lafayette on Saturday, and then you throw Holman on Sunday. That we don't know yet. We're still too early to know anything for sure. But it feels like Thatcher Hurd will be given the ball against Texas next week in kind of the biggest situation in the pre-conference. And so you want to have a handle. I think Jay will want to have a handle on his SEC starting rotation against Mississippi State after he leaves Houston. I don't think you go into the Xavier series and then figure it out, because you want to make sure you get guys' rest set up for Mississippi State best you can. So you handle the Xavier series with that in mind. So you can make a change from Houston to Xavier, and then you've got Mississippi State. You don't want to go to Houston and then play Xavier and then make a flip and compromise rest by a day playing Mississippi State. You can, because you're going to play some Thursday, Friday, Saturday series anyway. There are 3 of those on the schedule. But that's just what I think. So today is the next audition for Thatcher Hurd, and we'll see Luke Holman tomorrow. So I'm hopeful that Thatcher Hurd looks really good in the game today. and that he gives you every indication he's ready to roll against Texas for the second year in a row. He got that start last year in Austin and didn't go deep into that game, but did hang zeros in that game. LSU shut Texas out that day, and Dugas hit the big home run to win it in the ninth inning. I think it was in the ninth inning to win that game. So big day for Thatcher Hurd. I would really like it if he threw 70 pitches or so, got through 4 innings clean, got 5 or 6 strikeouts, and keep those walks to a minimum. So we'll see. LSU and Stony Brook cranking up at 2 o'clock. You can hear that on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. You'll have Doug Thompson and the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair, on the call. I'd imagine on a Friday afternoon, with this game having been scheduled at this time for a couple of months now, the weather the way it is, that we'd see a pretty nice crowd out there at Alex Box Stadium. Very much looking forward to paying attention to that one as we wind down the week here with Hour 2 coming up. Our Friday shows are brought to you by Corks. Got some LSU football to talk about at the top of the hour. Got an expert from 24/7 that thinks LSU could be a dark horse in the college football playoff next year. I'm going to give you my thoughts on Mississippi State, who LSU will see tomorrow inside the PMAC, and then we'll get some college basketball from around the SEC in a big weekend coming up this weekend tomorrow in Southeastern Conference basketball play. So come back with us after Sports Center. You're listening to the capital city's leader in sports talk, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Same patented non-toxic dry fog treatment that will kill mold, remove odor, destroy other harmful pathogens. Same great service and friendly staff, just a new name, Pure Restoration. You can learn more online at pure-restoration.com. That's pure-restoration.com. Pure Restoration can handle mold remediation.
From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Bayou Ford has new 23 Ford F-150 STX trucks for only $39,995. $39,995 plus 1.9% financing for 72 months. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. NFL teams were planning on a 2024 salary cap of about $245 million. Instead, it'll be $255 million, almost a 14% increase over last year, thanks to growing media revenue for the league. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reports the Saints will restructure quarterback Derek Carr's contract, giving them about $23 million in cap space. The Celtics now have a 7-game lead on top of the Eastern Conference. Who could challenge them in the playoffs? ESPN's Tim Legler.
If Julius Randle comes back and makes it back and he looks like Julius Randle the way he's played this year, I'm going with the Knicks. The depth that they have, how hard they compete, they wear you out because they are just not going to give you space.
Tim Legler on Get Up. LeBron James should be back on the floor for tonight's Lakers game at home against the Spurs. James missed last night's loss against the Warriors with a left ankle injury.
Hey, it's Evan Cohen. Coming up Monday, I'll tell you the hottest NBA team that you need to be paying attention to. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
1 hour to go in the work week for yours truly. Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Our Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. For those watching on YouTube, you see the panels that we've got in here. And sometimes it's really difficult to look at these with the delicious crispy fried catfish. And
again, way
shoestring
easier
fries.
for you because you're not facing them. I'm literally facing the whole
however,
show.
it is like, I mean, you're
It's
more
kind of-
so than me, but it's
yeah.
right there in the line of sight.
It is
However,
there.
the fact that I just ate some like 3.5 hours ago,
That's probably
helps.
nice, yeah.
It helps. It certainly does. So I would highly recommend you get one by Corks. It's a Lenten Friday. Go in there, grab your crawfish etouffee, your fried catfish, your, crispy Gulf shrimp. They're huge, by the way, and very, very, very good. I got the Corks sauce, which is my favorite, but they got you covered with your ketchup, your tartar sauce, cocktail sauce, whatever it is that you may want. I'll tell you about my thoughts on this Mississippi State basketball team that LSU will see tomorrow coming up in the next segment. But Go 24/7, our friend Glenn West, who chats with us on Tuesdays, put up a story that was rooted in a 24/7 podcast called the 24/7 Football Recruiting Podcast. And the hosts there were kicking back and forth some different topics. And one was biggest sleeper for the college football playoff in 2024. Now, keep in mind, like, sleeper is a relative term here because no one's going to say that their sleeper for the playoff is Cal. Like, no one's going to go, I think Purdue's got a real chance this year. Like, there are only so many teams that can make it. So, yeah, you're not going to say Georgia. Nobody's going to throw Ohio State in there as a sleeper. And so basically it's like, okay, who not of the top, like, 4 teams do you think could get in is essentially how I understand it. So I don't think you should get offended that what I'm about to tell you is that they got LSU as a potential sleeper. I think it's just a fact of the matter is we know that there's a small sample of teams that can really do this. Who do you think makes the most sense? And the director of scouting at 24/7, Andrew Ivins, said, I'm going with LSU. I think the addition of Blake Baker, what they've done on the defensive side of the ball, I'm a Garrett Nussmeier fan. I think they could be a potential sleeper in 2024, and I think you look towards 2025. I'm going to go with LSU. Now, How do I react to that? I'll tell you, if this was 2023 and LSU was returning this exact same roster that I know about, I would go, I just don't think so. Because I think LSU's defense has a long way to go to be playoff caliber and championship caliber. We have the benefit here in Baton Rouge of knowing what a championship level football team looks like. We've seen plenty of them. Whether it's the LSU teams that have made it or it's the teams they have played in the regular season that have gone on to win championships. We know what that looks like. And LSU's defense in 2023 was such a massively far cry from anything resembling championship level. It's hard for me to reconcile that with, hey, they could really make it. And so if you were looking at me in 2023, I would go, no. However, it's not. It's 2024, and what does that mean? Well, 12 teams get in. I struggle sometimes with how many of you listen often enough to hear most of what I say, and how many of you just check in for the 14 minutes you're in the car, whatever given day that is. Because you listen to me a lot. You've heard me say this a number of times. If you just catch me in and out, this may be new information to you. But I really only think 10-2 is the requirement at this point. I think 10-2 gets you into the playoff if you're an SEC team. You might have to struggle if you're in the Big 12 at this point. If you're TCU at 10-2, might not be great if your best win's Iowa State. But if you're LSU, and let's say hypothetically your losses are to A&M on the road and home Ole Miss. Just pull those two. Those are the two you lose. So you've now got wins over Southern Cal, Alabama, at Florida, at South Carolina, Oklahoma. Like, okay, that checks out. You're going to be traveling. You're going to be on the road and maybe at, Ohio State when it's 16 degrees in December. But I think you're in. And that changes my perspective on this entire thing in a good way. Because we know, although the 2007 team danced with the devil and found their way in, your second loss is a death sentence in the BCS and 4-team college football player era. So I find it unlikely, in my opinion, that LSU goes 11-1 next year because of the defense. That's my opinion as we sit here in February. I didn't say it was an impossibility. I find it unlikely that LSU goes 12-0 or 11-1. I think their defense is a long way to go. But I think 10-2 is very much on the table. And so I think that I'm with Andrew Ivins in saying that, yeah, I think that Georgia's got a better team than LSU. I think that Ohio State's spending a ton of money and looks better on LSU, and you're going to give 3 other conference champions a ticket in. And Alabama's got a lot of talent, even though it's not what it once was, and everybody's toasting Ole Miss at this point. What is Clemson going to do? Can Lincoln Riley finally get things cooking? We know Dan Lanning's got a really good team up there at Oregon. Like, there are a lot of teams that can make this happen. Penn State would have been in both of the last 2 years. We talked about that earlier this week. They haven't done squat, but they take care of business against Iowa and Indiana and Northwestern and Minnesota and Purdue and Rutgers. Lose to Ohio State and lose to Michigan. Well, we're in 10-2. Go look at the last 2 years. At the end of the season, Penn State has been in the top 12 the last 2 years. And that's all I'm asking for this LSU team to do. They do better than that, great. But I would agree. And so I read you this quote at the beginning of the segment, but I'll go back and repeat it, because there's a second piece to this that I like as well. Andrew Ivins says, I'm going LSU. I think the addition of Blake Baker, what they've done on the defensive side of the ball, and I'm a Garrett Nussmeier fan, I think they could be a potential sleeper in 2024. And he continues, if you look towards 2025, I'm going to go with LSU. That's more of what I'm on board with. I think LSU has work to do on defense, and I don't think it's something they can fix between the ReliaQuest Bowl and Labor Day. I just don't. Man, I hope they prove me wrong, but I don't know that I'm there. What I do think is that the football program is very healthy. They've got really good coaches in place. They're recruiting at an elite level. I think the quarterback pipeline they've built is very strong, although, as always in college football, potentially unstable. But I think they've got a real positive momentum moving forward, and it might not materialize defensively next fall. It might, but it might not. But I think overall, what they're doing on the offensive line, the talent at wide receiver they continue to bring in, what the quarterback should look like over the next 5 years, running back in-state looks fantastic. And then you feel like with the guys they brought in, with Blake Baker and Corey Raymond, the coaches they brought in around them, they should get back to the LSU level of talent. It's just a matter of getting those guys where they need to be. I feel better about LSU's football program over the next 5 years than I do the next 6 months. And I think that's fair. Maybe you disagree. And by the time we get to August, man, this thing will be humming at a fever pitch. Everybody will have us beating Southern Cal by 20. But I think we can be a little more objective in February. I like that a national guy's saying this. I agree with what he's saying. If you want to go check out the podcast over at 24/7, you can. Glenn wrote a story about it up at Go 24/7, and we'll talk to him about it coming up on Tuesday. But I agree. I think LSU's in a really good spot with its football program, and hopefully that materializes into some huge football games, some huge football wins, maybe another trophy or two down the road coming on in the Brian Kelly era. Our Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish, and Shrimp. Get on by there for your Lenten Friday. When we come back, LSU and Mississippi State tomorrow. I've got my scout on the Bulldogs. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
ESPN Bet is now live in Louisiana and is the official sportsbook of ESPN. ESPN Bet's the only place to find daily exclusives and offers with your favorite ESPN personalities and shows. You can sign up today, and new users get $100 in bonus bets for making any sportsbook bet. I did this a couple of weeks ago. You make one bet, $5, win or lose, $100 right into the account so that you can bet. You can find all your favorite markets and bets like in-game wagering, cross-sport parlays, teasers, and all the props that you can handle. That's ESPN Bet. Download today. What a play. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. In partnership with LeBares Lake Charles, terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal. a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today. Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. We'll get you live updates from the box, preview LSU, Mississippi State hoops, and a busy back-to-back for the Pels. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
.104.5 ESPN has got college basketball and NBA on the card for tomorrow and Sunday. Tomorrow at 1 p.m., we've got a nice matchup between Arizona and Washington, and then the Knicks and Celtics in the NBA at 7:30 tip. And then on Sunday at 12 p.m., we've got the Sixers and the Bucks. All that on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
They're underway over at the box. Nothing. Stony Brook and LSU as they play in the bottom of the first inning. I have a couple of uniform takes on this game. One, Stony Brook is very clearly wearing the same uniforms they wore in 2012. Same script, same numbers on the back with no piping around them.
Fair enough.
Same hat. It's the same look they were rocking in 2012. And two, the Tigers are in pins, which I love. I think the pinstripes look very good. But I will notice that LSU has now played 6 games at home and has not worn the purple tops yet. That was the Paul Skeens staple, and they haven't gone purple yet this year.
Well,
they wore the golds. They wore the golds on Sunday. They've worn pins. They've worn the whites. No purples.
Maybe it was just Paul Skeens. Maybe he was the one who wanted to wear them. And everyone said, "Well, you're Paul Skeens, so we'll wear them for you."
Well, that's 100% sure. He wanted to wear them. He said he loved the purple uniforms. He wore them every time he ever started. But I would figure they would have worn them at some point. Now, Maneri, they always did the same thing. They wore white or gray on Friday. They wore purple on Saturday. They wore gold on Sunday. They wore pins during the midweek. They did that every single time, no matter what. Jay, I think, was letting the starting pitcher kind of decide what they were going to do, but I haven't seen the purples come out yet, so I'm curious to see if that changes. I'm the uniform guy.
Yeah, you're the uniform czar, so maybe you can get some contact information there and see what's going on.
I know a guy. I'll make some calls. LSU and Mississippi State tomorrow night inside the PMAX, 7:30 tip-off. Big game, as I was talking about in the first hour. Stefan Krajnik jumped on and talked to Mississippi State. He covers the Bulldogs for the Clarion Ledger in the state of Mississippi. And this is a Mississippi State team that's pretty good. They've had a nice year under Chris Jans, who has proven to be a really nice coach. They were terrible 2 years ago. He got them into the tournament last year in his first year and has them on the verge of making the tournament again this year. They've got some work to do over the next 3 weeks, but they could get in. Right now they're 18-8. They are 7-6 in SEC play. But they've got, as is the case with most teams in the SEC, massive splits home and away. They are 11-2 in the hump, and they are 1-6 on the road. That one win was at Missouri, who, as we know, is 0-13 in league play. But this Mississippi State team has won 4 games, and the way that they have won these games has caught my attention because Chris Jan's teams play slow, they play defense, they rebound. This team is huge. That's kind of his style. But they've scored more of late. They scored 75 in a win against Georgia. They went to Missouri and scored 75. They scored 71 on Arkansas. And back earlier this week, they scored 83 points in a home win over Ole Miss. So a little more tempo, a little more shot making, just a little more effective offense than what they've had most of the year. We'll get into their offensive metrics here, and I'll just kind of put a big bow on their offense in entirety. They are between 130th and 175th, which is wildly average. It's not terrible. There are 330-something teams, and it's not near elite. They are right in the middle of the country in offensive efficiency, possessions per game, threes attempted per game, field goal percentage, assist-to-turnover ratio. Like, they're very average at all of that, which doesn't really tell you a whole lot. They're very good at 2 aspects of offense. It's their offensive rebounding, which is 26th in the country in offensive rebound percentage. So LSU's going to have to get on the glass a lot. And it's free throws attempted per game. They are 46th in the country. For context, in the last 2 games that they have played and won, they shot 39 free throws against Ole Miss and 32 free throws against Arkansas. That's too easy. And they do that in a couple of ways. One, their guards have done a good job penetrating. And 2, when you get on the offensive glass, as well as Mississippi State does, you will get fouled a lot because there's a lot of contact around the rim when you get on the offensive glass. So, look, Matt McMahon has harped on this for weeks now. LSU must do a better job on the defensive glass. It harkens back to the 2 games against Texas A&M. There's a little bit of similarity between these 2 teams. I think A&M is more dependent on Wade Taylor than Mississippi State is on anybody, but LSU kept A&M off the offensive glass in College Station and blew them out. A&M annihilated LSU on the offensive glass in the PMAC, and they won that game. That's a lot of what Mississippi State wants to do on offense. Their 2 guards have been very, very good. If you heard Stephon in the first hour talking about him, Josh Hubbard, Mississippi Player of the Year in basketball, signed with Ole Miss. They fired Kermis Davis, and all of a sudden Hubbard says, I'll go to State. So he shows up in Starkville, and he's very unassuming physically. He's 5'10", but he's averaging 15 points a game in SEC play, and a lot of that damage is being done from the three-point line. He's attempted 176 shots in league play, and 110 of them are threes, only 66 twos. So you're looking at a 2-to-1, 3-to-2 ratio there. He wants to do a lot of damage from outside. He's small. That'll be the assignment for either Trey Hannibal or if Jalen Cook is out there and plays. And then Shaquille Moore is the other guard. He's only 6'1", transferred from NC State a couple years ago, and he's been very, very good for them, especially defensively. But he's scored a little bit of late. He's had 9+, so nearly double digits in the last 7 games, and he hasn't missed a three-pointer since February 7th. It's now the 23rd. He's only shot 6 in that time, but he's made them all. The guards, while they do have the ball in their hands a lot, and they've been productive, and that's Josh Hubbard and Shaq Moore. The most imposing feature of this team is the front court. And Tolu Smith makes them go. He is the heartbeat of Mississippi State. He is the face of that program over the last 3 seasons. And he's very, very good. He's 6'11", 245 pounds, a grad transfer. In SEC play, 16.5 points per game and 8 rebounds. He's kind of a dying breed. He is a true post. He has not attempted a three-pointer in SEC play yet. He wants to catch it on the block. He wants to shoot jump hooks. He will absolutely put it on the floor. He's a very good athlete at that 6'11", 245-pound frame. Is he the most polished player? No. He's 57% from the free throw line, doesn't make a lot of jump shots, but he's so big and so agile that he does shoot 60% from the floor and bumps up against 20 points a lot. That's going to be a tough assignment for Will Baker, but it is one that he's going to have to take on. If they have to go ahead and move Jalen Reed over to him because Jalen Reed's a little bit better athlete, that may happen. But Tolu Smith is a guy that LSU's going to have to deal with. What I like about Tolu Smith is on the other end of the floor, Baker can bring him out to the three-point line, which I like. I like Tolu Smith guarding ball screens and pick and rolls. But on the offensive side, he's really, really good. What you'll see with Mississippi State on offense is a lot of pick and rolls. They love to run the pick and roll with Tolu Smith setting that high ball screen, that elbow ball screen, and then crash into the rim. And they'll feed him on lobs. They'll feed him on bounce passes and slip passes. They like to get him involved in the ball screen game. And you'll see Tolu Smith come out of the game a little bit, and Jimmy Bell will come in. You won't miss Jimmy Bell. He's 6'10", 280 pounds. And he started every game for West Virginia last year. Not a big scorer, but he'll come off the bench and bruise you a little bit. Now, I don't know what the line is. That'll come out tomorrow. But my guess is that LSU is a 1 or 2 point favorite in this game. Mississippi State hasn't been great away from the hump. If LSU plays the way that they played against South Carolina and Kentucky in its totality, I know they fell behind by double digits in both of those games, they'll win this game against Mississippi State. But, man, could you really try not to fall behind 18? Make things a little bit easier on yourself. The good news is that, like South Carolina, Mississippi State is less likely to run away from you. Now, I thought Kentucky would run away from LSU if they got a big lead. They didn't. LSU fought their way back in it and got it done. But this is a team that would rather play this thing around 70, and Kentucky has no interest in playing around 70. So that's the tempo that you're looking at here with Mississippi State. Again, I like Will Baker pulling Tolu Smith out to the perimeter, and I just like the way Trey Hannibal and Jordan Wright are playing right now. And while Shaquille Moore is every bit their age, Josh Hubbard is not. He's a young player and a freshman, and I think a guy that LSU can attack when they're on offense. So I fought on this game internally with myself. I fought on it because I've been really good at kind of prognosticating what LSU is going to do. Now, keep in mind, I did not think they would go to A&M and win, and I did not think that they would go to South Carolina and win, so I did misfire on both of those. But I picked A&M to come into the PMAC and win, and I picked LSU to beat Kentucky, and I thought they would. As I look at the matchup, I think it's a good one for LSU. I think they're going to have a great crowd on Saturday night. It'll be the best environment all year. Usually Kentucky's the best environment all year. Well, you had a losing record in the league. It was at 8 o'clock at night on a school night, and the crowd looked good on television because the lower bowl was just about full. The upper was empty almost. So it was not a great crowd. It was a good environment late. When LSU went on that 11-0 run, it woke up, and it was fun in there. This should be nearly full, I think. I would say I think the PMAC seats something around 14,000.
Yeah, it's like 13, I think.
13. Like I think they'll have 11.5. Like,
yeah, probably.
I would guess you probably had closer to 8.
Maybe 8 or 9 for Kentucky.
On Friday, on Wednesday. So I think you'll have closer to 11. I think it'll be a great environment. I think LSU feeds on that. And I think LSU will win the game. I do think it'll be a very close game. I think it'll come down to the last 3 minutes. And the good news is that LSU has really played well late in games. And I can't exactly point to this adjustment that was made or this that they did differently, but I can tell you that they're not panicking late. They have, I believe, a good plan late, even though they didn't execute the plan in Gainesville. Like Cook gets stripped. I get it. But I think I like them in close games, especially against teams that I think they're fairly evenly matched with. And I think LSU's fairly evenly matched with Mississippi State. You got a talent discrepancy when you play Alabama. You got a talent discrepancy when you play Tennessee. You really got a talent discrepancy when you play Kentucky. But against Mississippi State, against Arkansas, against Ole Miss, against Florida, against A&M, you're on level footing, and LSU's held their own in all of those games. So I'm excited for Saturday night. I'm excited to see if they can continue to ride this momentum. The program needs it. Matt McMahon was throwing out the first pitch at the box yesterday, which I thought was a cool opportunity to kind of capitalize on some things and to tell folks, hey, you can come on out and watch our basketball team play. I hope they can go out there and get it done. I like the Tigers. Get on the glass and make sure you don't give Mississippi State second chance opportunities like you did in College Station, and I think LSU will win the game on Saturday night. So that's certainly my hope. That's our look at LSU and Mississippi State. LSU playing baseball right now over at the box. Stony Brook threatening in the top of the second, and they got runners at the corners with nobody out against Thatcher Hurd. So we'll keep you updated on that over the next 30 minutes. Great day out at the box. So hopefully some of you were able to make it on out there. But if not, we got you updated right here, and we got 30 more minutes to go. When we come back, I want to talk about the rest of the day in the SEC in basketball because it is a big one, and it's now kind of tournament crunch time for a lot of teams in this position. So we'll do that coming up next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
It was a humid day. Barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time to slip away. Oh, Louisiana, like cypress stumps. Your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
This season, I want you to remember the name, First South Farm Credit. If you're in a lease, we can show you the path to owning the perfect piece of land. Or if you're already a landowner and looking to expand your current property, First South has long-term options available. When you're ready to talk about owning land, call me, Tommy Marsh, at 985-446-9450 or find us online at firstsouthland.com.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. We'll get you live updates from the box, preview LSU, Mississippi State hoops, and a busy back-to-back for the Pels. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Discover the largest showcase of outdoor gear in Louisiana, featuring everything from fishing and hunting equipment to ATVs, boats, and more at the Louisiana Outdoor Expo March 15th to 17th at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Register for your chance to win tickets today at 1045ESPN.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
You know, they say the fastest action in the state of Kentucky is the Kentucky Derby, right?
Yeah.
They're going to have to take a back seat on this one because Alabama and Kentucky are playing in basketball at Rupp.
Ooh.
Tomorrow.
What's the total on that one?
We'll see tomorrow. They put the lines out in the morning, but that is going to be hellacious basketball. I don't think I can watch at 3 o'clock with all the moving that's going to be going on.
Yeah.
Plus, I don't have a TV at the new house, so I'm probably going to miss it, quite honestly. But I might have to take a break and just pull the phone out and watch 10 minutes because that's going to be some dudes moving and shooting some buckets. It's going to be a lot of points scored in that one. Alabama is the #1 over team in college basketball to this point. They're dropping 100 on everybody. And Kentucky is susceptible to giving up 100, as we've seen. They played better defense of late. But look, in that building at Rupp, and I think Kentucky's basketball fans are a lot like LSU's baseball fans, a good sense of what's going on the field. I think there may be a situation where Tennessee Vols have a really good baseball program at this point. I think their fans might kind of be getting used to what college baseball is all about. You don't have to teach any lessons over there at the box. Like, they kind of know what's going on. Same thing very much applies in Rupp. I think they know that Kentucky needs to get rolling here over the next 3 weeks. Like, that's pretty evident. They take one step forward, 2 steps back. You go win at Auburn and take 2 very much steps back in the PMAC early on Wednesday. They need this win if they're going to get a decent seed and have a chance to make a run that they haven't made in almost the better half of a decade at this point. So I'm excited to see what the result of that is, even if I can't watch. Bama's 11-2 in league play at this point. Kentucky sitting there at 8-5. Both teams in the top 20 in the country. So I'm excited to watch that one. You saw Kentucky up close in person. How do you feel that one's going to go?
I definitely would take the total. I mean, the over for the total. I'm guessing it'll probably be around 170, maybe 180 or something like that. But Kentucky, I feel like they have to get this one.
Yeah,
they have to. So I would, especially at home, I would take Kentucky, but I wouldn't be surprised if both teams break 90 in this one easily.
I'm with you. I would take the Cats in that one. I don't know what the number will be, but as far as just winning the game, I'll take Kentucky. That's clearly the biggest game. I think that there is another interesting game in the league, and that's South Carolina and Ole Miss. Ole Miss is right there on the border of the NCAA tournament. If you're an LSU fan and you care at all about the NIT, if you don't care about the NIT, I cannot fault you for that for 1 second at all. But if you do, and you'd like to watch LSU play a game in the NIT at home, you need Ole Miss in the NCAA tournament. And it would help them greatly if they could beat South Carolina in the Pavilion coming up on Saturday. On the flip side, South Carolina built up all this momentum, and they were kind of the toast of the SEC there briefly for some really impressive wins. They go to Tennessee and win, and you think, oh, well, maybe they'll come back and get tripped up, and they don't. They beat Georgia. They had won at one point 7 games in a row, but they went to Auburn and lost by 40, and then they played LSU at home and lost at the buzzer. They've had the week off to kind of think about that, but the next 2 are on the road. This one's at Ole Miss. Could you get tripped up there? Maybe. Then you go to Texas A&M. I mean, do we just blindly trust that South Carolina is going to go at A&M and win? Well, if they don't, then you play Florida, who's ranked now. Then you play Tennessee, who you beat in Knoxville, but that's not exactly a lock. Like, things could slip away from Lamont Paris's team here pretty quickly, even though they're ranked. So they need to right the ship. But if you're an LSU fan, you need to pull for Ole Miss at home to beat South Carolina. That further cements Ole Miss's spot in the NCAA tournament, which would allow LSU a host site in the NIT. If you missed this earlier this week, the NIT changed its rules. The top 6 conferences, Pac-12, Big 12, Big 10, SEC, ACC, and Big East, the top 2 teams in those 6 leagues that don't make the NCAA tournament get a host game in the NIT. So LSU's right there on the outside of that if Ole Miss doesn't make the tournament, if A&M doesn't make the tournament. That's kind of what I'm looking for from those 2. So we'll be pulling for Ole Miss to beat South Carolina in that one. And then the rest of the slate is not super entertaining. I don't think many people are going to be glued to Missouri at Bud Walton. Missouri 0-13. By the way, like 0-18 would be an impressive mark. Like, to be able to go through an entire conference slate and never get hot enough to win one game is remarkable what Missouri is doing at this point. And at this point, you got to ask yourself, like, are they going to win a game? Because they're going to Arkansas on Saturday, and I don't think they're going to beat Arkansas. Then they go to Florida. They're not going to win that game. Then they host Ole Miss and Auburn. Okay, I don't love them. And then they're coming to Baton Rouge. So, I mean, Beck, you tell me, do you think that Missouri is going to pull off an offer here?
Well, it's only happened once, I think, in the past, 50 or 60 years. I think Vanderbilt did it with Bryce Drew a couple of years ago.
I believe that's right.
And so...
Boy, Vandy can be feudal, can't
they?
They
That's can.
Impressive. Because they put a bunch of 0-8 football seasons on the slate.
Yeah, and so I Man, I can't see it. It's only happened once in the last 80 years. So I'm gonna say Missouri they're gonna have to get one. I think it's
Ole Miss.
I think it's Ole Miss.
Ole Miss at home.
Yeah, I think it is.
That would knock Ole Miss out of the tournament.
That would for sure. Yeah,
and that would be the end of Chris Beard unless they can go and win the SEC tournament. I mean, we may see history. Maybe see Missouri's first bagel because their last game is in the PMAC Saturday, March the 9th at 7:30.
And you still don't think that they're gonna move on?
I don't think so.
How can you?
Because
I know they made it to the tournament, but still, you can't not win a game.
Right.
In the SEC.
Look, I would like to win a game. If I'm the Missouri AD, I'd like to get one. But the point is, in a bygone era, you would have to bring back this 0-18 team to play next year. With freshmen. Now you just tell everyone to kick rocks, and you go find the next group of G5 players that want to do it. He won last year on the backs of, I believe, 3 Cleveland State transfers he brought with him. So that certainly helped. You'd be toast if you went 0-18 in year 2 and then had to bring everybody back the next year. You'd have no. But now you just revamp the whole roster. They were good one year. They're bad this year. Maybe they'll be good the next year. That's kind of the nature of what things look like. So that's a fascinating deal to me. The rest of the SEC slate that you'll look at. Vanderbilt is at Florida. I don't think Coach Stack's getting that one back. Sorry. Auburn is at Georgia. Georgia needs a win. They've lost 6 in a row. So we'll see if they can beat Auburn at home. I don't love their chances. A little bit of a revenge spot here for Tennessee. They went to College Station 2 weeks ago and got smoked. The Aggies headed to Knoxville in this one. A&M kind of coming off some mystifying losses to Arkansas, Vanderbilt, whatever. But if you're an LSU fan, you need A&M to go up there and win that game because that'll cement them towards the tournament, and you're trying to host an NIT game. So that's your look at the SEC slate on Saturday in hoops. I wanted to mention one thing before we get to take it or leave it at the end. Austin Nola, LSU former shortstop for 4 years as a starter, 3.5, I guess, if you count 2009 as a half, signed a major league contract with the Kansas City Royals today. And I was thinking that this is as improbable a professional career as I can remember an LSU athlete having. The only guy that comes to mind is that guy did what in the pros is the fact that Garrett Temple has played as long as he has in the NBA when he was just a really solid player on 2 different really good LSU teams. He was a defensive stopper as a freshman on the 06 Final Four team, and on the 2009 team that won the SEC, Garrett Temple was a really good player. Now, Marcus Thornton carried that team, and Tasman was great on that team as well. But Garrett Temple was a really good wing for him. He ran the point a lot and actually made himself a pretty good shooter on that year's team. But for him to hang around better than a decade in the NBA, I would have never seen that coming. So that comes to mind. This is different for Austin, though, because Austin Nola's best attribute at the collegiate level was his ability to play defense at shortstop. He was never a great hitter. He was a solid hitter, but never a great hitter. Didn't have a ton of power. He was a phenomenal college defensive shortstop. And for him to go to professional baseball and take the one real tool that he had that was elite, his defense, and take it away and send him to go play catcher, and then to have him play for as long as he has at Major League Baseball at a different position is crazy. I can't even think of a comp as to parallel it to another sport. It's nuts. It's almost like Paul Skeens going up there and playing catcher or hitting home runs in Major League Baseball. You take a guy's the thing he's best at in that sport and go, okay, you're not going to do that anymore. And then for him to do it at the highest level, play catcher is crazy to me. And it's fascinating to me that coaches have that kind of ability to have foresight and say, hey, let's try this. And obviously Miami's organization took a look at Austin and said, yeah, we don't think you can play shortstop in the big leagues. He never had the greatest range, but he had an awesome hands and fielded everything and had good range in college. And then he becomes a catcher at the major league level. That to me is nuts, and I'm thrilled for Austin that he's got another chance here at a major league deal. This time of year, you see a lot of guys sign contracts, but it's a minor league deal that basically says, hey, come to camp. If we cut you, we cut you. This is a major league deal, so there's some money attached to this, and they expect to break camp with Austin Nola. So that's really cool for him. And again, it just seems to me so improbable that a guy would have that path. But it's been cool to watch for Austin. As I look up at LSU baseball, currently I see Josh Pearson trucking along, and then there's Mac Bingham trucking along, and that looks like Paxton Kling with a 2-run double, which is very, very nice to see. He's busting out after a rocky first weekend. The Tigers have knotted things up with Stony Brook at 2 apiece in the bottom of the second inning. We'll come back and close things out on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Love telling you about my friends at Boudreaux's Electric because they give you the ability down here in South Louisiana, where we deal with power outages a good bit, to protect yourself from that, to give yourself the peace of mind of knowing that the power is not going to fail. A lot of people work from home. You can't have a storm blowing through on a June afternoon, knock all your power out, then you're off the grid. That's not acceptable for a lot of folks that work at home. You can protect yourself from that with a Generac generator from Boudreaux's. Not everyone needs the exact same generator. Depending on the square footage of your home, what it is that you need powered at your home, you need to keep things cool in the summer, you need to keep that fridge running so you don't have everything spoil. They can figure out what you need and come install that generator that best fits your need. The Generac generator, they're a certified Generac dealer, a premier Generac dealer. Boudreaux's Electric is in the top 3% of Generac dealers in the country. They've got that location down in the 985 in Donaldsonville. They've certainly got that location now opening up in Gonzales. Check out my friends at Boudreaux's Electric.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Moscona, inviting you to join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. We'll get you live updates from the box, preview LSU, Mississippi State hoops, and a busy back-to-back for the Pels. Join us 3 to 6, 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
I was at Corks earlier today picking up some lunch, and they had 3 big bulk orders ready to go out the door. If you're looking to feed the office, whether it's 10 plates or 50 plates, Corks can help you with that. They had it working today. It's a Lenten Friday. They placed those big orders, and they can get them out the door right on time. Delicious jumbo Gulf shrimp, crispy fried catfish, the shoestring fries, honey butter roll. Very, very good, and I love the Cork sauce as well. Check out the menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. You can see what they've got. They got po' boys. They've got loaded potatoes, whether they've got crawfish etouffee on top, or you got pork chops in there as well. Corks is an awesome option, certainly great for a Lenten Friday. So get on by there for dinner tonight. Headed out to the box doing some tailgating this weekend. Corks can help you with a bulk order there as well. LSU and Stony Brook tied 2-2 in the top of the third inning. Beck, I made the call earlier. Called my dad. He's headed down. And I said, just put an LSU shirt in the bag in case we get the green light on Saturday. How do we feel about that? 7:30. I've already taken 2 loads to the new house today. My mom and wife are taking a load right now. We got some work to do this afternoon, plus all day tomorrow with the movers involved. Do I have any chance of getting to the PMAC?
I think you have a great chance. I think because you clearly planned ahead here. You've got a lot of work done today. You're getting a lot of work. And 7:30, Hunt. Yeah. You have the entire day. You wake up at 7:30 tomorrow morning, maybe 8 o'clock. Get some breakfast.
There's no chance I'm sleeping until 8 o'clock because Myers will be awake at 6:45.
Okay, so there you go. So you're already getting up at 7.
Yep.
You got 7 or 8.
Hours.
You got 12 hours to do this. I mean, this is easy, Hunt. I feel great about your chances.
All right, I feel good about that. We'll see. I'll report back on Monday. Let's play some Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. The Cubs' first spring training game is currently underway, and they are torching the Black Sox 6-1.
Oh, yeah, baby.
It's just the second inning. Chris Morel hit a 2-run jack. Pete Crow Armstrong got a double, his first spring training AB ever. The Cubbies are playoff bound. Take it or leave it.
Bid them for rings. Get the ring sizes ready. Take it all day long. That game's probably in Mesa, Arizona. Probably a lovely day. Morel's hitting tanks. The Cubs are, I'm thinking maybe 125 wins or so.
Yeah, something like that. All right, moving on. LSU will finish the baseball weekend undefeated. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I think they're significantly better than Northern Illinois and Stony Brook. They got some work to do today, and Thatcher needs to settle in and get – he's gotten 6 outs. I'd like him to get at least 6 more unscathed. So they'll get things rolling. It looks like a good weekend to hit as well. So I think they'll overwhelm these teams and remain undefeated. They'll head to Texas for a midweek game with Rice coming up next week, and then they'll have the University of Texas in Houston coming up on Friday, which should be a fun one.
All right, this one was interesting. I'm not really certain I understand this, but apparently ESPN's Malika Andrews thinks that restaurants shouldn't serve dessert. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave that. I'm not demanding that Malika, order dessert every time, but if I want to have a delicious brownie with ice cream on it or a slice of cheesecake, pipe down. I might want Bananas Foster. Baked Alaska down in New Orleans.
I mean, is she worried about the dessert-only places? Is there a problem with the economy or something where we can't have restaurants that serve dessert and regular dessert places?
I made a preposterous move. It was the bye week. We went to the group of guys went to Biloxi, and we went to a steakhouse after we had played golf, and there were some drinks involved.
Yeah, of course.
As an appetizer, I got a piece of cheesecake.
Okay,
it was a preposterous move. I don't even know how it happened. I just all of a sudden looked over and I was like, man, I could really go for a cheesecake right now. My wife's not here. I'm not going to get yelled at. We're between men here. I need it, and I got it.
And you ate the cheesecake, and then what was your entree?
A ribeye.
Okay, so how did it feel eating a cheesecake before having a ribeye?
I mean, you're talking about a guy who'd had a couple beers.
Okay,
and,
I'm sure it was
the scotch was going. It was just fun.
Yeah,
It all tasted great.
Yeah. All right.
I won't be doing it again because that's just a ridiculous thing to do.
It is.
I think it was one of those deals where it's like
when in Rome,
Yeah. I mean, I have no rules here. It's just a bunch of guys at the steakhouse.
Yeah. All right. Last one here. The New Orleans Pelicans have won 8 of their last 9. They're firmly in non-play-in territory right now. The Pels will finish in the top 5 of the West. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. Why not?
I'll take it.
I don't get any points off for optimism. The scuttlebutt is in the national media is that they are using Zion in a completely different way. He's the primary ball handler now, and he's doing a lot of dishing, and obviously he's tough off the bounce getting to the rim. So I like the fact that they've kind of changed their identity a little bit. I like the makeup of the roster. They finally added enough shooting and kept Zion healthy to put out on the floor kind of the vision that they've had for the last 3 years. So that's exciting. My friends that are big Pels guys are locked in every night, and they're excited about it. You really need to stay out of the play-in if at all possible. And look, you can jump up into the top 4 and host a playoff series. That'd be fantastic as well. So they're playing better. They've been, as I've said for a while now, they're consistently playing well, and I don't have to watch them every single night to just look at the results and go, they're not going through a stretch where they lose 8 of 9. They're not having 2 of their top guys go out for 3 weeks at a time. They're as healthy as you could expect to be at this point in the calendar. They've been consistently winning more than they lose. Would you like them to do better against the top of the sport? Yeah, but that's why those teams are at the top of the sport, and the Pelicans aren't quite there. They're handling their business against the lesser teams, so it's good. I'm happy about the Pels, and hopefully they give us something to talk about here over the next 3 months. All right, that's it for a Friday show presented by Cork. Shout out to Stefan Krajnik from the Jackson Clarion Ledger for previewing Mississippi State. Shout out to Preston Guy for jumping aboard, talking some football. You can find that discussion on LSU football at Hunt on LSU on YouTube. The rest of the show in its entirety you can find on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, and, of course, on YouTube. Have a wonderful, safe weekend. Should be lovely weather in South Louisiana. I'll be packing boxes. I'm going to take Monday. We got to do some closing things, so I'll be back on Tuesday's show. But y'all have a wonderful weekend. You've been listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Happy New Year from your friends at Front to Back Boat Service. And what better way to kick off your new year than by taking your boat to the next level? Get the boat of your dreams, and that's where Front to Back comes into play. You want that spot lock trolling motor that's going to keep you right there on the water where you need to be. How about some forward-facing sonar that actually shows you the fish before you even cast? Custom stereo jobs, all of it. Sherman family's been doing it for 38 years. Go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few